Добрый вечер. Меня зовут Наталья Ба, и сегодня я буду делиться мой опыт в России. Hi, everybody. That was a little bit of Russian because tonight is a chat with Nat, and on my Instagram, the polls voted to hear about my experience living in Russia. So you're listening to It's All Light, which in Russian is Всё светло or Всё легко, which the first one is like literal light, like it's lightly. And then the second one is like it's all easy, which is totally how the title is, like it's all right or it's all light. So I love that it works in Russian. Okay, so tonight I'll share my experiences in Russia, and later on I'll even share about how I got arrested. Crazy enough. So it all started 8 years ago. I got my call in January 2015. Forever ago, coming up on, 8 years, I think. 15, 16, 17, 8 years ago, I got my mission call, and I had remembered a few friends in high school, like maybe a year older than me, or some of my guy friends getting called to Russia, like 2 people, and being like, whoa, yeah, that's cool. Like he would go to Russia, he's that like top notch kind of guy and like could do this, just shout out to Trip Affleck. He was our senior class president, just awesome guy. Anyways, so fast forward, everyone goes on their missions. I go to school. Serving a mission was like the easiest decision for me. Like I never once questioned it, which is so funny when I look at my life and all the other decisions that I question like crazy. Like I am so indecisive, and it's like, for this one, I just had always known I wanted to serve a mission. So I hope I can use that decisiveness and move it toward other decisions in my life. Anyways, so yeah, I had always wanted to serve a mission. I was ecstatic when the age changed, and like I was putting my papers as soon as I could, got my call as soon as I could, and I was out of there. So getting my call, I remember I'd made a list. I would look up the missions online and just like write every mission that I was like, oh, I could go to this one or this one. And I included stateside. I was just setting myself up to go stateside because I wanted to go foreign so bad. Like on my application, I think I said 5 learn a language, 5 go somewhere, had no health issues, like I wanted to go somewhere. And I was thinking like, ooh, Africa or the Philippines. Never once thought of Russia, ever. So you can imagine my surprise when I opened my mission call, which came a day later because of a holiday, and like, it was just so exciting. Waited until 8 p.m., had a billion people there. It was like one of the most special nights of my life. And I like screamed it. I was like, Moscow, Russia, Moscow, like jaw dropped to the floor, like me going to Russia. And I never really once felt scared. I was just so excited, but also like, really, me? And I just always took it as a compliment from God, knowing that he knew I could handle it and be smart enough for it. I didn't think I was that smart or cool enough. I don't know. It was a weird feeling, but I was so excited. Immediately my sisters were like terrified. They had seen the movie Saratov Approach, and I had watched it like a year before I got my call with my friends, and just a crazy movie, right? And ended up in the future serving like 2 hours away from that city. It was in the mission below mine. So yeah, it was the Russia-Moscow mission. And I served there from May 2015 to December 2016. And it was the best. I loved it, most of it. But yeah, so I got home in December of 2016 and here we are 7 years later. So yeah, what Russia was like in a nutshell. Yes, very cold. That stereotype is true. Yes, the people also very cold. Very true. But I will get more in depth on that because the people are amazing. It looks very Soviet. Cement buildings, very gray, very old, creepy Soviet toys. Like, I don't even know how to describe some of it. It's such an experience. It surprisingly gets really hot in the summer. And then the dominant religion is, in Russian, you say pravoslavny, which means Russian Orthodox. And everyone is pravoslavny, even if they're not really. And there's a Russian church on every corner. And there are these extravagant, onion dome, gold and wooden and colorful churches. And we only got to go inside a few of them. It was kind of against mission rules to go in them as a missionary, even though we never had our missionary tag on. Just Americans aren't very well liked in Russia. And even though I didn't have my missionary tag on, people still knew who we were. Probably because my ugly, I almost just swore. That's bad. Ugly outfits. Yeah, I wish I had looked a little bit better on my mission, but that's all right. I also gained a lot of weight. So if you want to see pictures, I'll link to it on my Instagram. But yeah, oh, and the food, I mean, that's probably why I gained weight. It was not very good. There were some things that were good. Blini, which are like crepes, super good. And borscht, actually amazing, which is originally Ukrainian. But borscht is delicious. And if you want some, I'm going to have a borscht party maybe coming up because it's just such good soup. It's a beet, potato, cabbage, carrot soup. And that's actually good. But everything else was like mayonnaise and fake crab and weird veggies and just like dill, so much dill. I like to this day can't eat dill anymore. I'm just scarred from that. Yeah, lots of weird salads, lots of salami and meat. We would just eat like bread with like pieces of salami on it. Lots of bread, lots of brown bread, lots of drinks. Like they had kombucha there, which I didn't know what it was at the time, but also kvass, which is like fermented black bread. I think it has a little bit of alcohol in it, but like minuscule. So like missionaries would still drink it. And it's just not, it's gross kind of. Other food, meat patties, like some mashed potatoes, carrots, mushrooms. People go hunting for mushrooms. One time we were on our way home from church just walking and we see this lady kind of looking in the side grass patch by the road, and we were like, hey, like, are you looking for something? Can we help you? And she like turns to us and her skirt, like her apron was like pulled up and it was like full of mushrooms. And we're like, oh, that's funny. But yeah, I saw at least 1 to 5 drunk people a day. There's a bar on every corner, a bar right by where we used to live in one of my areas. And yeah, the drunk people are hilarious and sometimes scary. We'll get into some stories later. But yeah, Russia, lots of tall concrete buildings. Occasionally there's the countryside and there's these little cabins called dachas, and dacha land is what we sometimes would call it. And they're just, some people live in these little houses. Most people live in tall concrete buildings. I'm trying to think, it really is a walk down memory lane. I should pull up my pictures. The ice cream's really good and the chocolate's really good. And it's really hard to find anything outside of Russia, like outside of Russian food. Like they occasionally had Oreos or peanut butter. Oh, they had the best Snickers. They had a hazelnut Snickers. That was really good. America doesn't have it. Oh, and they also had these cookies called Kon Tiki, also, I think, Ukrainian. And we would bite one end and the other end and sip our tea or our milk through it. And it's called slamming. And my companion at one point had like the record for slamming the most cookies. Insane. I could only do like 5, which was a lot to me. So, few crazy stories to start us off. Multiple stories of just like men following us, creepy buildings, and like trying to go in and contact, and it just being like, or trying to visit like less active members. I should preface, so the first year of my mission, I could proselyte. We could go out and talk to people, and that is the majority of where I spent my time, was just out on the streets talking to people, and probably got yelled at multiple times a day. Some way worse. Like I remember just how it just was awful. And a lot of rejection, mostly rejection. And we just do it for hours on end every day. Yeah, I didn't have that much success in the missionary success, quote unquote, way. I don't think I ever helped someone get baptized necessarily, maybe one, and then helped like few less active people. But yeah, I just remember, so we couldn't proselyte the last 6 months of my mission. So we could go visit less active members though, because they were already members. And there was just all these creepy buildings that we would go through, and like, it would be like dark and lights flickering. One of them, we like this old rickety wooden building, and we like tried to go up to see if we could find the door, and there was like this huge dog with like chains, and like I just remember just like bad vibes immediately, and we left. Once we were like trying to help this old lady who had some groceries in her hands, and we were like walking with her, and she started going toward this, like, it looked like an abandoned school, and we were both started getting weird vibes. So we were like, okay, here's your groceries back. And as we turned around, there were like these three, a girl and two guys with these like leather jackets coming on this small path like toward us. And there was a rule that if three people, usually men, if three men were coming toward you, you had to go a different direction. So we turned the other way on this like school path, and it's kind of fenced in. Finally, we see another opening of the fence. We get there and we just start running. This was like broad daylight. Like maybe we were exaggerating a little bit, but like we were just, following our feelings and getting out of there. Yeah, another man in a leather jacket following us home on the metro. And it can be so creepy because there's all these underground like road, like tunnels. That's what they're called. And there's always creepy people down there. And yeah, one area, and it was near where I served in Moscow. I only served in the city of Moscow for my last transfer. All the rest I was in outer cities, literally all the way around Moscow. But yeah, there was this crazy story that you can look it up in the news. The other sisters one night who were serving in the area at the time had a feeling to go home a different way, and they did. And then later heard on the news that this, unfortunately, Muslim nanny had killed the baby she nannied and put his head on a stick, and like was like parading around, like so awful. And yeah, I've looked up that story since, and just knowing where that was and like having been in that area before just freaked me out. Before I left on my mission, my mom would send me articles, and one was like a journalist killed, like Putin for sure controls things and kills people who say anything bad. I do believe a lot of them are brainwashed, which is so unfortunate. I mean, not like crazy brainwashed, but like the news, the media, what it feeds them, what they believe, we're all subject to that too. And that's really hard and sad over there. You'll hear in my later stories, just they really do keep tabs on you and listen to you and are always watching basically. And it's kind of scary. But you can't think about it too much. Yeah, there's another one too, where it was a cold contact. So digitally, someone put in a request for a Book of Mormon, and it was in this tiny city. So a lot of my areas, I had two cities that the sisters were over, that we would live in one and then travel to the other one like every other week. And this was one of those smaller cities that we were just in for a weekend. And we got this media thing. We're like, okay, we'll go drop off a Book of Mormon. I think we had done that before and just usually left it by their mailbox or something. But yeah, this one, me and my companion, happy-go-lucky walking to this concrete building, and we type in the door code that rings to the room to let the main building door open. And normally it takes like quite a few rings, but I remember I typed in the door code and it like opened, like barely even ringing once. And I was like, oh wow, cool, it opened. So we opened the door, and I like take one step over the threshold and immediately flip around to my companion, wide-eyed, her eyes also wide. And I was like, we need to get out of here now. And she goes, I immediately felt that too. And so we just left, and we both just like clear as day knew we needed to get out of there. And I'm grateful we listened to that, because who knows what would have happened. Yeah, kind of creepy. I feel like that story blends with another one where those three people in the leather jackets, we like ran far enough away, but then we saw all three of them turn back around and get in their car. And I feel like where this other contact was in that same area. Maybe. I don't know. It was a long time ago, but I don't know. Just kind of crazy. Okay. And last story, and I'll jump into a few other things, is I was training cute sister Lundskog, and we were on our way home from church. It was like getting close to 9 where we had to be inside. And we're walking down the street back to our apartment, and there was a Russian couple on a walk, and they had a beautiful German Shepherd dog. So I was just like, oh, you have such a beautiful dog, just making conversation as we're walking down. And they start talking, and I look back now and I'm like, I really didn't understand Russian, and I still don't, and it's hard. But saying something about they were celebrating an anniversary and we should come celebrate with them, and I think like drink champagne and celebrate whatever they were celebrating. And I was just like, we don't drink alcohol. And my companion's like, we eat chocolate in Russian. And anyway, so we're almost home and there's a Pechorishka, a grocery store on the corner. And he was like, this burly Russian man just like turns around and goes, stop, like, wait. And we're like, oh, okay, like we'll chat with your wife, whatever. He goes into the grocery store, comes back out with plastic cups, 2 bottles of champagne, and a giant chocolate bar. And we're like, oh no, we really have to go. Like we don't drink alcohol. Like we really have to go, multiple times, just like, we got to go. And finally his wife was like, honey, like, and she handed us the champagne and the chocolate and she's like, let him go. And then he was like, here's my number. If anybody ever tries to bother you, like I'm the one you need to let know, like totally mafia vibes, like you knew he was a respected Russian and like people would be scared of him. And he's like, you don't want to get in with the wrong people and just like call me if you need anything, I'll protect you or something. And they were like, okay, cool, thanks, bye. And I like ran into our apartment. And then we're like, what do we do with a bottle of champagne? We're like, we can't give it to someone because we don't want to promote drinking. I think we ended up just putting it in the dump. But we ate the chocolate bar. It was this big, it's called Alyonka, a big Alyonka chocolate bar. Anyways, okay, so next topic, I'm going to talk about learning Russian. Oh my gosh, you guys, it is as hard as everyone says it is. And I probably still, I know I don't speak it very well. I don't think I ever really spoke it very well. Russians that I meet nowadays are very kind and say, wow, you speak so good. And I'm like, well, this is just a basic conversation, there's a lot to it. And yeah, I took 2 Russian classes coming home in college and they were great. One was a Russian history class and it was fun. And I had to like spend so much time, writing the essays and getting help on it and working on my grammar. And it was hard because I still go English translating to Russian instead of thinking in Russian and how the Russians would say things, which is very, very different than English. Very different. And the grammar, probably shouldn't even get me started. It's so hard. Probably not as hard as Finnish, but comparable. There's a case chart and everything needs to be cased correctly in the right forms. There's like a bajillion verbs of motion and everything depends on what you're doing and what you're saying. It's a beautiful language though. I absolutely love it. And I want to try to speak it more. And yeah, I was proud when some people could tell it wasn't an American accent. They maybe thought I was Polish or from the Baltics. And that would always make me happy because it was like a little bit better than an American speaking Russian. But yeah, now let me tell you a little bit about the Russian people. I love them. I think they're just so weird and wonderful and the most loyal people. I remember my exit interview with my mission president right before I went home. They ask you a lot of questions about your mission. And I remember just getting so choked up just about how much I loved and love the people and what they taught me. And like I've had some Russian friends move to America and kind of had the same conversation with Nastya Rybakova. And she was just saying like, when you're friends with a Russian, like you will give anything and do anything for them, like especially moving or driving to the airport, or you're just always there for each other no matter what. And like it would take a bullet for you. So that loyalty you have to kind of earn and gain. And once you have that friendship though, like you will have that friendship forever. And I do feel like even though it's been years and unfortunately with all the conflicts there, which we pray for all the time, I hope it gets better because I do want to go back. And I know that they're so loyal that they'll remember me, no matter how much time has gone by. Like, it's helpful with social media too, but I think I just had always had this vision in my head. Oh no, I'm going to get emotional. It's amazing. Emotion just hits you. But just my whole mission, I just always had this thought of of just being in heaven eventually and running into one of the billion people I talk to, knowing that I had made a difference in their lives. And that's more like a personal thing, but yeah, just knowing that me walking around and saying hi and being a weirdo, smiling at people, people do not smile there. And I would, that's just part of my personality. But I just know that one day there will be at least one person, that was like, hey, like you talked to me, you smiled at me, and it changed some part of my life. And there was a cute story like that where I was on the metro in Moscow, I think, just on an exchange, and this lady was like, we were just standing near each other, and I hadn't started contacting anybody, and she kind of was like, there's something about you, like you're very light, like full of light, or like svetly, lightly, I guess is how it translates. And I was just like so excited, I'm like, oh, someone noticing, and she was like, my stop is next, but do you have like a pen or paper? Like, I could get your number. And I was like, oh, you bet I do, like pulling out all my notebook, my pen and my paper, we always had on us on our planners and stuff. So I like wrote down my name and number, or gave her a card or something, and got her number. I think I got her number too. It's always safer to do that. So I think I got her number and name, and then later called her, and she just was like, yeah, I just wanted to ask you, like, why are you so lightly? Like what is it about you? What's different about you? And I remember having a conversation on the phone with her, just like, it's because of Jesus Christ, like so excited to share that. I was in a different area though, so I passed her to the sisters in her area, and I don't think anything ever came of it. And that is like the moral of my mission, is just sometimes nothing comes of it, and that's okay. I had to be okay with rejection and success looking very, very different than I imagined. And I mean, there were many times we would hop on a phone call with the sweet psychologist in our mission and just like talk through hardships and rejection. And there's a video. So I used to teach in the MTC. I taught Russian for a year and a half. And that was like the best job, the best time ever. I love all my missionaries, and I love seeing them, and went to one of their weddings a few months ago. Just, it's the best. And I love them, and they're my dear friends. But I would always show them this video I have from my mission of me and my companion, like at the end of the day, laying on the bed, just looking so dead. And we're just like dazed. And I'm just like, people don't listen. People don't care. People don't want to talk to us. Like, it was just like a depressing little video, and we were just like, we're so weird. I was the weirdest person, and it's just funny to look back at mission videos. But yeah, it was really hard. You had to deal with rejection and stay positive, and it really is a testament to me that like the atonement of Jesus Christ strengthens you, because I'd be like sobbing on my knees one night, just like, why is nothing happening? Why can't I speak the language? Like, why does no one want to let us teach them, Like, I really maybe only taught like 3 people, like people would like disappear. That's another thing too, is like, they were maybe some type of spy, or like just like some type of informant for the government, and would come meet with us and then disappear, like number completely gone. Like, so wacky. That happened a lot, actually. A lot of people would like maybe be nice, show interest, and then just completely drop off the face of the earth, and we never heard of them again. But yeah, back to just, you had to deal with it and move on. And there were enough like great experiences too, that to keep you going, and peace to fill you, and you do it all over again the next day after those hard days. So yeah, the Russian people are amazing. I had a goal to get them to laugh, which is kind of really hard. and another missionary taught me that. So I would always like get on the bus and like after a little bit kind of turn to them and be like, what would I say? Like, hi, I'm not from here. Obviously you could tell by my accent. I would say that. And I'd be like, is this weather cold for you? And it was like October and like super snowy. And they're like, no, not even. And I'm like, it's cold for me. Like, this is crazy. And I mean, they'd be like, where are you from? And we'd start talking like, why are you here? But yeah, they would always laugh when I would say it's cold, and they were fine. But yeah, it got really, really cold. I was lucky it was a more mild winter, my only winter there. And if I had gone like 2 hours more west of where I was, it would have dropped like negative 30 degrees more. I think where I was at was like negative 15, negative 10 degrees, I think. So yeah, pretty cold, bone chilling cold, very humid. So it was like that humid cold. Lots of snow, lots and lots of snow. And I don't think I saw like wild animals really, but on like 8-hour train rides, it was just like a tundra of snow, just like an ocean, but just snow for miles and miles and miles. Train rides are so fun. I love the train rides. Oh, I forgot about another crazy story. Um, so we were serving in a city called Voronezh, Russia, and that's the one that's like southern of the Moscow, Russia mission, and it's near Saratov. It's unimportant, but just if you know on a map, it's just more southern of Russia. And we had a district of 4 elders, and then me and my companion, and it was just a normal Saturday. I think we were in the middle of our studies, and we get a call from our zone leader, who's like a kind of a funny guy. Shout out to Elder Merrill. And he was like, we need to tell you something. Like, there's a guy named Oleg, and he was a member in our ward, and he's threatening to kill Americans, and we have to leave. And we were like, wait, are you kidding? Like, is this a joke? And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm being dead serious. And we're like, whoa, okay. And he's like, we're going to try to get out on Monday. It was Saturday. And he's like, don't go outside if you can help it. Don't talk to anybody. Just like stay low key, pack up your things. And we're like, oh, we had a lesson with this cute couple that we wanted to go stop by and see if they were home. They had given us their address. And he's like, okay, maybe you can go and do that. And that's it, which I think we did that and they weren't home. So we just went back home. Anyway, so then we get a call later in the day and he's like, just kidding. We're leaving tomorrow right after sacrament meeting. Like, get your whole apartment packed. Like, we're leaving these apartments and going to Moscow, which was 8 hours away. And so yeah, this member Oleg, which I had seen once at church, and he came and gave me this paper, and my district leader was like, don't even read that, just throw it away. So we did. But that was Oleg, and we didn't really know too much, but the members were so nice, and they helped us like drive us to the train station with all our luggage, 6 missionaries, each with like 3 suitcases, right? We all hop on this train at like, I forgot what time it was, just in the morning, afternoon, after saying goodbye to all the members, taking pictures. And we hopped on a train, got to Moscow late. The office elders picked us up, and we went to the office and had dinner with our mission president in his office. And he kind of shared like he'd been sending him letters and emails like, give me money, you're the leader of this like cult or something, and like I need you to pay money, otherwise I'm going to kill the Americans. And I think enough threats, my mission president was like, I got to get them out of there just to be safe. And I don't know all that went down, but I know the area president and the branch president of that area went and confronted this crazy. So yeah, he had some psychological issues. They went and confronted him and banned him from ever coming to church and maybe excommunicated him, I think. And there might have been a fight. I can't remember. But yeah, so that was crazy. And my companion at the time, Sister Stockwell, was going home, like finishing her mission the next week. And so she and I actually had gone to middle school and high school together. She had gone to India. I had gone to India. She got called to Moscow. I got called to Moscow. And then we were companions, crazy as that sounds. Anyway, so she and I were together. And so we were in Moscow and we just stayed with STLs. But our mission president said, don't tell anyone. Don't tell your families. And so we're like, okay, keep it low key. So the sisters had no idea we were there. And like we would run into other sisters and they'd be like, wait, what are they doing in Moscow? You know, what are they doing here? And that whole week we were able to just see people my companion had served with in other parts of her mission and just like kind of be in limbo and meet with people and go on exchanges. And then she went home and my mom went to her homecoming where she shared that story. So then my mom knew. And so then we could talk about it. But yeah, that was crazy. Forgot about that one until this moment. Anyways, a few quick lessons as I wrap up. Just the mission taught me to endure for sure. And to just, no matter what, keep going, keep trying. I had to keep trying to learn Russian every day. It took me 18 months to like be able to speak a correct sentence. And even then, like I was able to get by and I was so grateful for that and able to teach in the MTC. But my missionaries would always be like, Sister Bot, you teach us the spiritual things, and like Brat Belknap teaches us Russian, you know, like they knew I wasn't that good, even though they didn't even know it. But I tried and I knew the basics and I could help them memorize. I like memorizing things. But yeah, the mission changes your life. And I think for those who haven't served a mission, your life is a mission, and you will definitely have experiences to learn similar lessons and have mission experiences similar and just traveling experiences, right? Being in a foreign land always brings some cool experiences. But yeah, just, I don't know, other life lessons, just love deeply and be loyal, like the Russians. And the joke was they were always like pineapples, you know, hard on the outside, but sweet on the inside. Once you like made an effort to get to know them, then they would maybe let you in. And the members there are incredible and incredibly strong. To be a member in Russia and Ukraine and the Soviet countries is so hard, you know, and I don't blame half of them for not being able to go to church for so many different reasons. Some of them get easily offended. That's really hard. Some of them are completely crazy. Yeah, I mean, you'll find crazy people anywhere though, but there's a lot of stories that made us laugh. That's for sure. Gypsies, witches. I got like almost hypnotized once, and this crazy guy like winked at me, like grunted at me in Moscow. But yeah, I was only in Moscow my last transfer. One time we got home at like 11 p.m. We were the STLs too, and we were at a less active member's house, and we were about to leave, and she's like, but what about the duck? And we're like, what about the duck? We got to stay and eat dinner. And then she made hachapuri, which is like this amazing Georgian like egg cheese bread. Anyways, so that night we got home at like 11 p.m. But it was a magical night because no one was outside, and it had just freshly snowed, and it was just a peaceful little moment, and we knew we were safe in the areas we were. But yeah, so many mission stories. Holy cow, it's flooding back. I'll end with getting arrested. That's probably the biggest story. So I was in the small town of Lipetsk, and I was in a trio, me, Sister Fotheringham, and Sister Austin. And we were a wonderful trio, and we had our ups and downs and learned so much from each other. And they helped me a ton. Just changed the course of my mission in the sense of being less of a stickler, still obedient, but less of a stickler and just more about love. And I'm so grateful for that. But so we were in this tiny apartment in this tiny city. We called it Little Armenia. There was a lot of Armenians and some great members. And we had a fun district, 3 sisters and these 2 awesome elders that we got to work with. And yeah, lots of things in that city, lots of weird vibes at times. But yeah, one time were running to catch a train to go to Moscow, and the cops were at our door, like the main big apartment door. And we were leaving, our taxi was there. So we just kind of ran right past them. And I think our neighbors might've called something like, you know, like 3 suspicious Americans in this small city. Like, what are they doing here? Kind of the thing we think. So we think our neighbors called the cops on us, but like the cops had shown up maybe once or twice, but we're never supposed to open the door for anyone. And so we just would like sit in a room and hide kind of from our window as the cops would come to the big door. We were on like the 9th floor or something. Anyway, so the cops we knew like had come twice, and one time we had to like run past them to catch our train. So like maybe they had tabs on us, and my companion was like, this lady I was contacting asked if the cops had found us yet. And like, we were all like, oh, that's weird. Like, interesting. So fast forward like a few weeks later. So every time we had to get a new visa, we would leave the country and go to Riga, Latvia every 3 months. So I've been to Riga like 6 times, just the airport. And oh yeah, one of those times we missed our flight. That was fun. But we had gotten back from Latvia, me and Mary, me and Sister Fotheringham. Sister Austin had just hung out because her visa was a different date. And we'd gotten back, and then you're supposed to get registered in the city with your passport. So we had our member, Anya Borodina, grab our passports, and the elders, I think, had recently had theirs too. So she grabbed all of our passports, and we were supposed to just sit and wait at the branch building while she went and did the registration. We did do our studies and whatnot. So we're at the branch building, we're starting our studies, and it's getting a little bit later, and we kind of had the idea, I forgot whose idea it was, but like, hey, let's walk across the street, grab some lunch, and we can study and eat and save time. And I was in charge that day. We were rotating between the three of us to just like prepare to be trainers in a sense and just like have a senior companion because we were all like the same age. And it was my day, I remember. And yeah, one companion was like, hey, we should go grab lunch and hit two birds with one stone. And I was like, yeah. But I was like, oh, wait, no, maybe we should just stay, because we were supposed to stay put and study, you know, but then it was kind of 2 against 1, right? Trio. And so I was like, okay, fine. Like, you know, we're across the street from the grocery store, and we told the elders and we left. And then the elders called us and they're like, oh, be sure not to contact anybody because you don't have your passports on you. And we're like, oh, okay, we won't really talk to anybody. This was when you could still contact. Also, I do my phone funny. I don't use my thumb, I use my 2 fingers. Anyways, so we walk across the street to the grocery store. That's when the elders were like, don't talk to anybody. And we're like, we won't. We go to the grocery store, grab a few of our favorite things, check out, say hi to the cashier. And then we're walking back across the street, and this cop car pulls over right by us, and 2 cops hop out, and we're like, oh crap. Like, uh-oh, you know, we don't have our passports, and that's illegal in Russia to not have your passport on you, by the way. So we had these cop stoppers, these little blue books of a copy of our passport, and we pull them out of our bags and hand them to the cops, and they're looking at them, and I think they knew Sister Austin's was fine, but then they're like, oh, yours is expired. We call the elders. The elders are like, we don't have our passports either, but they come running outside, and they're like trying to tell the cops, like, I forgot what they said, but we were just like trying to get out of this, right? And I wish I remembered it more clearly, but I remember we handed our groceries to the elders, and the cops were like, okay, get in the car. We got to take you to the station. And so they just took us 3 girls because they didn't have other seats for the guys. And so they just put us in the cop car. No handcuffs, which kind of is like a letdown for the story. But we get in the cop car, and I am livid. Like, my poor companions were probably so embarrassed. Like, if you hear them tell this story, it's pretty funny, because I'm just like, we are missionaries. Like, we blah, 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 blah. Like, you can't do this, or I don't know. I was just super crazy for a second. And I think frustrated and mad and you know. And so they drive us to the police station, and they walk us in, and there's this guy with a shot head sitting at the side, and we're like, oh, okay, here we go, you know, Russian courthouse, prison, what's it called? Just police station, I guess. And they walk us upstairs, and I was so bugged because this girl cop was talking to these meathead cops who had arrested us, like, oh, you're bringing in another one? Like, it was a joke to them. And I was just like, this is stupid. Like, what are they doing? Like, what are they even arresting us for? Like, I don't know. Just, you know, suspicious. We're Americans in Russia, and that's suspicious. So we go there, and we're like, immediately we had been already texting our mission president and our office lady who was Russian, just like, what do we do? You know, like, this is crazy and our fault. And so we're just they're like, don't sign anything, speak in English, don't give them any information. And so we basically had to stall. And I was like, can we use the bathroom? And we just hung out in the bathroom for a little bit. We were there for 3 hours, and they wanted to get a lot of information about us, but we just kind of refused. Finally, the Russian who was getting our registration passport, she came and explained everything to them, and they let us go. And then, yeah, we definitely were chastised by our mission president, and he was very nice about it. The worst, though, was when the zone leader called us and chastised us. And I'm like, no, we don't need to hear it from you. We already heard it from president. You know, yes, we didn't follow the rules, and yes, we got arrested and wasted 3 hours of people's times. And yeah, anyways, so I remember the next mission conference, though, our mission president was like, okay, and due to some events that have transpired, everybody read the rules about having your passport on you at all times. He's like, we had some missionaries get arrested, and me and my companions just sunk down in our chairs. Everybody knew it was us. But it wasn't that uncommon to get arrested in Russia. You can ask a lot of missionaries who served there. It just kind of happens. They don't like Americans, and they're suspicious. So my takeaway from that is listen to the spirit. I had the thought, don't go, you know, but we still went. Luckily, that one wasn't the Saratov approach where it's don't go to this guy's house, and they did, and then they were held hostage. You know, thankfully it wasn't that bad. But Yeah, I wish it was a cooler story, just a little bit, just because it's like I was arrested in Russia. But yeah, no, I guess the creepiest thing though is that like they were watching us and keeping tabs on us, probably had all of our phone records, probably knew exactly where we were, what we were doing. You know, like Russia watches you, and it's pretty creepy. And there are some stories like that too. But wow, 40 minutes flown by. I hope you've enjoyed this journey of Russia. It's a pretty remarkable, crazy, wonderful place. And missions are great too. If you're ever considering, I encourage anyone to go. But yeah, Russia is awesome. And I'm very grateful I got to serve there. And the Russian history is so interesting. Russian literature, amazing. You could die reading some amazing Russian literature books just because of how crazy and amazing it is. But yeah, my prayers go to Russia and to Ukraine. I hope that conflict resolves soon because it's just so sad. And I love all the people over there. And yeah, thanks for listening to my crazy stories. If you want to hear more, I'd be happy to share. And yeah, hope you have a great day. And remember that it's all right. It's all light. If you make a mistake and get arrested, no, just kidding. No, but just have a great day. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Russia. And I think a phrase a lot of you have heard of, goodbye, до свидания, or you can say пока-пока. And we'll leave you with that. See you next week. Bye.